I have the absolute pleasure of introducing Zeze Millz to the stage. Round of applause, guys. We can do a bit more than that. Let's give a huge round of applause.
Hi, everyone. How you feeling? Good, good, good.
Fabulous. Zeze, I mean, you look absolutely fantastic.
Thank you. I feel like we're matching. We're doing up suits together.
We've gone for summer even though we're in autumn.
Well, I feel like I got a good boot on.
And I've gone for a kitten.
We love this.
we love it.
Comfortability.
Exactly.
100%.
So talk to me. You've been in the industry for a minute now. I've been following you and been a fan of you ever since the Headscarf Diary days. Who's been following Zeze since the Headscarf Diary days?
Hey,
a lot
thank
of us,
you.
right? And I think when you first came into the industry, you were an absolute force to be reckoned with. I think you were completely unapologetically you, and you just came in and just dominated the industry. What kind of led you to that point, and what made you decide, I'm going to start talking some things on social media?
Well, it was actually because, I always wanted to do acting, and then as I got a little bit older and whatnot, the acting thing kind of wasn't really working out the way I wanted it to work out. And then I guess what the catalyst was when I didn't get let into a club with some friends, and then I spoke about colorism, and from there I realized that there was a lot of people that maybe felt how I felt, but they didn't want to necessarily speak themselves. So then I realized, okay, cool, there's this space where I could actually be myself, speak about things that I'm passionate about, and it's received well. But in the beginning, because I came out doing like activist, it was very difficult then to switch to like talking about things, like talking about sex, or talking about things that maybe people didn't think matched how they first saw me, because I was really going strong about the colorism and all those type of things. So then I just thought, you know what, I'm just going to keep talking. I'll keep talking, and I'm going to talk about things that bother me or that I agree with. And I realized that there was like a niche of no one was really doing that. No one was really saying how they felt. So Headscarf Diaries was just like a release for me to just talk on my phone, on my camera phone. And then as that started to build traction, I thought the next step would probably be to do a show or something. And then that's kind of how it all started.
And I think as well, one thing that, we can all say is that you are not afraid of speaking your truth, and I guess saying some things that people probably think in their heads but don't have the confidence to say.
Right.
How do you handle people social media can have its peaks, it can have its troughs as well, but how do you handle people that have kind of like negative criticism to say as like a rebuttal?
I think I'm all for debates, and I think people need to learn the art of, you can always rebuttal someone, but it doesn't get personal. So I'm always happy to go back and forth with someone if they're actually going with what the subject is. But if you're just going to come on my page and be like, look at you, you dumb girl, it's like, babe, where's the articulation? Where's the, you know what I mean? So I kind of sift through it. But I'm always welcome debate, because that's what I think is very healthy. Everyone in this room has different thoughts on something, or we have similar thoughts on something, but how you get to educate each other, how you learn from each other, is having discussions about these things, if that makes sense. So I'm all for the open discussion.
And I think it's really healthy as well, because I think, especially in our generation and in this society, people can often think that there is just like a one-size-fits-all. Like that's the answer to it. And I think, especially when it comes to social media and it being so heavily opinionated, that one opinion gets put across, and then you've just got loads of people in the comments saying, oh, yeah. But I think what is a huge breath of fresh air about the stuff that you do is that, again, going back into the unapologetically yourself thing, but also like you're just not afraid of saying whether you think that, you have a different opinion to something else. And I think it's so refreshing. So it's kind of like, I don't care what anybody has to say, you are doing something that a lot of people are afraid to do.
And when I first started, that was like my little tagline, saying all the things that you're afraid to say. Because like I said, when that whole thing happened and I was speaking up about colorism, the amount of black women that came up to me or in my DMs or message me just to say thank you. I was like, rah, there's people that want to say things, but they're worried about the backlash, or sometimes even your job. Your job doesn't allow you to even have an opinion because you're attached to an establishment or something, and you can't speak on certain things out loud. Do you know what I mean? So I like to try to be that voice, for people.
That's a good thing that you touched upon there. To do with brands, because you've worked with some phenomenal brands. You're now a radio girl as well, Radio Sisters on Capital Extra. Because you're not afraid of speaking your opinion when it comes to things, how do you find that pairs with brands and kind of working for these kind of high-profile brands? Are you now consciously being a little bit more selective or careful about the things you say, or you just like, take me as I am or leave me sort of thing?
I think in the beginning, I remember one of my friends at the time, because I wanted to do TV and I wanted to do all of this stuff, and I remember her saying to me that, oh, maybe you should like tone it down. And you know, when I first came out and I'd be talking about everything and I would be swearing and I'd be this and I'd be that, and I was quite, my mum would say I was quite vulgar, you know, even though I don't think I was.
Do you know what? It's so funny because I saw that on your story today.
She told me that I'm not allowed
No
to swear
swearing.
today. So I'm really trying not to swear. Like a few times I was about to say some bad words, but I'm thinking, remember what my mum said, don't swear, Zalika. That's my real name, Zalika. So, yeah, the brands thing, when I first started, my friend said, you know, maybe you want to tone it down a bit if you want to do TV, if you want to do this. And my thing was, I don't ever want to not be myself. Like as time has gone on, I've learned that not everything needs a reaction, not everything you need to speak about. Also, you can't die on every hill because that is too much for yourself anyway, carrying all that weight. So now I think as time has gone on, I'm a bit more selective on maybe what I speak about, but I will still give my honest opinion on what it is. And I think the way I've kind of built my brand is that brands know what they're going to get. So if you're going to come to me, if we're going to work together, they kind of know already what it is they're going to get, and that's almost the reason why they've come, if that makes sense. So there's some brands that probably will be a bit like, ooh, but
then you wouldn't want to work with them in the first
right,
place.
because they don't understand what I'm about or who I am. But I would just say, I just stuck to what it was that I wanted to do, and because I thought I can't switch. I can't like be this person and then be that person, because the facade will drop at one point, if that makes sense, and you'll get caught out. So it's take me as I am, or
well, this is it. I think from day dot up until now, like you've not like changed as to who you are. Like nothing's, you know, phased you, and you've remained the same from when you first jumped on the scene doing the Headscarf Diaries up until this point. And it's like a breath of fresh air, because no amount of, you know, brands that you've worked with or things that you've done and achievements that you've made, you've always pulled it back to, okay, right, now I'm going to sit on a sofa, No Star Studios.
Yes.
Shout out to Pep.
Shout out to Pep.
And we're going to keep it a buck and talk about some stuff that's going on within the industry.
Yeah.
And also, even with that, like, obviously the industry, like we all know each other from working in this space. How do you find having to speak about, obviously not going into it into too much detail, but when it comes to speaking about pressing things that are going on within our space?
And then I might bump into them tomorrow.
And then you might bump into them, so,
well, that was the problem. In the beginning, I would talk about everyone. I didn't care, and I still don't care. I would talk about everyone. But that was the problem. No one kind of wanted to touch me. A lot of people did. I didn't go to events. Everyone was a bit like, oh, can we do, has she got beef with? But anyone I've ever spoken about, it's never been actual beef, if that makes sense. Like, and also when I meet them in real life, they're like, oh, actually, you're cool. You're not this, like, bitch online that we think you are. And I think also, I was literally saying, in the beginning when I first started doing like hot topics or what I thought about, I would maybe talk about the person. Whereas now I feel like even what happened the other day with chicks and gigs and whatnot, it was not necessarily to do with them. I spoke about the bigger issue
around it,
the bigger issue of what has happened. And anything else that I think happens, I think that's the road that I kind of want to go down, because I think I like the social aspect of things now, talking about social issues and how that affects us and the bigger issue. So I think that's kind of like how I've managed to
move around it.
Yeah, move around it. But there are still some people, like, you know, they still don't check for me and I don't check for them, and it is what it is. What can you do?
Wow. It's the name of the game.
I go,
but
honey.
I suppose it's just like taking the artist away from the artist. What's the saying?
Taking the art away from the artist or whatever.
Yeah.
Separate the two.
Separating the two.
Yeah.
And then just looking at it objectively as opposed to like...
That's it, yeah.
As to them directly. talk to me about the Zeze Millz show and building a brand for yourself. Talk to me about that process and how it came to be and the continuation of that as well.
So Zeze Millz show, yeah, like I was saying earlier, it was just once the Headscarf Diaries thing started like building traction and people liked it and there was conversation around it, I thought, okay, the next thing would probably be to take it somewhere else. I don't just want to be on the phone like that. And it was, I was in IKEA. Oh my God, shit.
This
place
was IKEA.
here. Oh my God, what a
Damn.
full circle moment. I was in IKEA, this exact one. Oh my God, that's really mad. I was in this IKEA and I was in the clearance bit, right? And I was looking for like a sofa bed for my for my flat, which is literally 2 minutes around the corner. I'm an Edmonton girl. So like I was in here and I saw Andy, who does Backchat, who did Backchat at the time, who owns Trend Central, and he was also looking for something. And I literally went up to, well, at first I was a bit like, oh no, I don't want to go up to him, I don't want to go up to him, because I hate networking. I know you're supposed to like enjoy it and it's really good, but I find it so cringy, like going up to him and be like, hi, I'm Zeze. It literally makes me, but at that moment I was like, I have to kind of like seize this opportunity. So he was there and I literally went up to him. I was like, hi, I'm Zeze. I don't know if you like aware of me or whatever, but I do this thing called Headscarf Diaries. It's building a little bit of traction online. I feel like the next thing would be to do a show and I think you would be good at doing it. And he was like, all right, cool, this is my email. Email me and we'll take it from there. So the next day I emailed him, maybe that night I emailed him, I was like, hi, nice to meet you. Would love to like talk about what we could do. And he was like, all right, cool, come in to the studio. Like, I think it was like a Friday or something. He said, come into the studio. And he's like, what do you want to do? Spoke to him. He's like, cool, let's do a little screen test now. So then I did a screen test and it was like, what's happened this week? And I can't remember what, I spoke about something, but kind of like how I used to do my hot topics. And I'd just be like, yeah, this happened. And then he was like, all right, cool, let's go. Let's start filming. And I was like, what? And he's like, yeah. But my original thing was, the reason why I went to Andy's because he already had the infrastructure.
Wait, can we just get a round of applause for that? Because that is... Woo, girl.
So
Wow.
my original thing with going with Andy was that he already had the infrastructure of Backchat and the audience. So my thing was like, if I could just get on that channel with what I do, then it's more or less the same demographic, the same type of people that I feel like I hit anyway. And then Andy was just like, I feel like we should just start a new channel. And in my head, I was like, what? Like, why would we do that? You've got like how many subscribers already? Why would you want to make us build something from the beginning? And in hindsight, I'm so glad that he did it because everyone then that subscribed, anyone that came to watch, they were coming for Zeze Millz. It wasn't like off of the back of Backchat, if that makes sense, which would have been fine, which I wanted to do anyway. But I'm glad that we did that. And then it was just like Andy was very good. We were both like really dedicated, actually. We just, every Tuesday, and at the same time, I was working my 9 to 5. So I always had only in the last, 2020 was when I was able to like do Zeze Millz full time, and that was because I got made redundant. So that was even like just a boot, and it was like, okay,
that was like COVID times.
COVID times,
right, okay,
and then that's when it started. That's when I was like, okay, I started to make money. So before that, anytime you saw Zeze Millz show, that was me going after work. I'd go after work on a Tuesday. I would film, go back to work on the Wednesday, and it was really weird because even like my big interview with Wiley, that was like, I left work that day, I went to film Wiley, and then I went back to work, and then it was so weird when it was like doing the rounds. It's like, I'm just here at my desk, but I'm still like this person online, and my thing with Andy's thing was always like consistency. Yeah. Like every week we put out an episode at the same time, and that's the way you like build your audience, and that's the way you like basically keep on everyone's neck. So I would say something on the Tuesday that would piss everyone off, and I didn't even give them time to rest. Next Tuesday I was like, bam, back again with something else to like piss them off again, or something else. So that's kind of how it ended up, like building and building and building and building. And then it got to the point where the TV stuff started happening, like Unapologetic. So then naturally the Zeze Millz show kind of took a back seat, but I always knew that that was my foundation. And I remember when Andy said to me like, what do you want to call the show? And I said, I want to call it the Zeze Millz show. And he was like, are you sure? Why don't you call it like not late in life, but something like that? And I was like, nah, I want to call it the Zeze Millz Show. And he was like, why? And I was like, because it's me. Like, I make this show. No one else is going to be able to make this show. So it's my show. And I'm glad that I did it because I feel like even when it's not the Zeze Millz Show, people think it's the Zeze Millz Show because I named it the Zeze Millz Show, but the Zeze Millz Show was just me talking. So anytime I talk, it's like, it's the Zeze Millz Show. So the brand almost keeps going, even if I don't do the actual Zeze Millz Show, if that makes sense. So yeah, that's kind of how it happened.
What an amazing, so can we get a round of applause for that, guys? Yeah. But I think it goes to show like what determination and what drive does, because I think quite often you can look at social media and see somebody who's doing like incredibly well and think that they've just been an overnight success. But as you've just stated, it's taken years in the making to get to this point.
I think the first...
And I guess a lot of like free work in order to be here today.
Oh my gosh, bare free work.
Yes, a lot
bare
of free work.
Bare like, oh, we'll pay for your lunch. And you're like, yeah, why not? Or we will pay for your travel. And you're just like, yeah, cool, it's a good opportunity. Yeah, but it was. And in the beginning, like, I wasn't getting mad views or anything like that. And that can be quite disheartening as well when you're like a creative starting out. Especially nowadays, like numbers is such a big thing. Like I saw something the other day and the guy was like, oh, they only got 300,000 views in the first day. And I'm like, what is this? And he said only. And I was like, when did we get to the stage in life where 300,000 views in the first day is bad? And I was just like, wow. But basically, when I first started, I wasn't hitting mad views and it wasn't anything special, but it was just consistency. And I would say that to any like creatives, like, don't worry about the numbers. Sometimes you might hit a big number and then the next week you might not hit a big number. And that was us. Sometimes an interview would do really well and then I put out an interview the next week and no one cared. Like, but you just have to like keep going and keep going and keep going if you believe in it. And that's kind of what we did. Yeah.
And I guess as well, one of the main things is building that brand awareness, which is something that you've done so amazingly well, you know. And I guess that coupled with that consistency. So anybody that is kind of listening in right now that is looking to get into this creative space, or even if it's a case of they've got, you know, a business idea or a brand that they're looking to launch, it's literally, you know, like you've just said, even with the numbers thing, you're not going to wake up tomorrow and all of a sudden sell 100,000 units of a T-shirt, for example, but not to get disheartened at that, just to keep going and keep pushing.
I think the best thing is like steady growth, if that makes sense. Because sometimes what happens, we see it all the time, someone goes viral and then after they're then like clinging on to that viral moment. Yeah. But it's always, I always say, steady like progress. You build the people that want to mess with you and they'll keep messing with you because you've like gone like that.
They'll
steadily.
be on that journey with
Yeah.
What else can we expect from you, girl?
Oh, do you know what, George? When anyone, because I feel like my whole thing has not been a fluke, but it's not a fluke, but it's always kind of been like, I'll just see what happens. The Zeze Millz Show is literally like, I'll just see what happens. Or when I was like, hey, I want to do radio, let's see what happens. I'm always like that. I don't know if I'm a glass half empty person.
Okay.
I'm not
What
full.
is even the difference between the full and the empty thing?
Optimistic. I'm a pessimistic person. Right. So I'm like, yeah, it would be great if I could make $1 million, but I might not, and that's life. Okay. Like, that's how I am. Like
realistic.
I'm very, maybe like almost negative realistic.
Oh, stop.
Because but for me, that manages my expectations. Because this industry is so like up and down. For me, that's what just keeps me like, okay.
Grounded. So what does, good question.
Next, what you said, what I'm doing. I love radio. I'm really enjoying radio.
Yes.
I like
Talk to me about that. So if you don't already know, Zeze Millz is on Capital Extra.
Every Sunday, 9 to 1, you can lock in.
What led you to do it? It makes so much sense, you being on radio. You have an amazing voice.
Thank you.
What led you to deciding that that was what you wanted to do next?
Do you know what? I've always, I used to do radio like way back.
Because Manny is trying to tell me that he's the one that...
No, he is.
He is!
Manny is the one. And I was getting...
Shout out to Manny Norte then.
I've always been a bit like, I don't know about radio.
Yeah.
And I I was in Ghana, and Alec, who is 0207 Def Jam, he was like, have you ever thought about doing radio? And I was like, I don't know. And he was like, you should. It's a good broadcasting skill. It's always good to have that underneath you, and like you'll learn a lot. And I was like, okay, I'll give it. And I respect him a lot. So when he said that, it kind of made me be like, all right, I'll think about it. And then I saw Manny at Jamal Edwards' memorial for his birthday, and he didn't know I had spoken to Alec, and he was like, have you ever thought about doing radio? And I was like, and him and Alec are really good friends. So I was like, the fact that Manny and Alec have both told me the same thing in a short period of time, maybe I should look into it and think about it. When I did do like radio, but I did enjoy it. Like when I was on Pulse, I enjoyed it. I did like it, but obviously Capital Extra is more music. It's not talking. So, but I do enjoy music a lot. I love music. I love it. So the natural thing with me, what station would you, I thought, what station would I want? And Capital Extra. I thought, yeah, Manny was obviously Capital Extra. And then it kind of just happened from there. And I was doing it, again, people might think I just ended up on radio, but I was going in for about a year. Every single week I'd go in. They'll train me. They'll say like, okay, because I'm a talker. Radio, you have like 2-minute links, 1-minute link maybe. You got to short it. It was like a new skill that I had to learn. Driving the desk, all that kind of stuff, learning how to do that. So I did that for about a year, just going in, practicing. Then I did the graveyard shift for that week. Like that was my, okay, this is to see
2 a.m.
actually,
till 4 a.m.
Right, that one. And I did that last November. And then they was like, okay, cool, we'll give you a show. But just before I got given the show, I was going into Big Brother. So that was all like, okay, it was all like a, and then that's how it happened.
It's annoying because there's like 3 minutes left on the clock, and there's so many things I want to talk about. Okay, but I think one thing that you've mentioned there again is like a lot of people could be sat in this room right now thinking that, you know, you are at such an incredible place in your career right now. You're literally going from heights to heights. And people could literally sit and think that because you're here, it would just be easy to waltz into the radio industry and just boom, land a job. And so I think it's so important for people to know that, you know, even when you are up here, you still have to go in there, audition, try, and you know, and learn new tricks of the trade. And I think it's a really important factor. Right, we're on a timer. Big Brother.
Yeah.
How was that experience?
It was such a good experience, honestly.
Because I know that we've mentioned like before now, and we've seen it on social media about being a black woman in these spaces on TV, which can often be underrepresented, even on places like, you know, Love Island and stuff as well. So talk to me about choosing as to why you decided to go for Big Brother, and then what that experience was like.
It was, I got to talk quick. It was a quick turnaround again. They approached my team, and then my team was like, do you want to do it? And at first in this world, you know, you have so many conversations. I've had loads of conversations about doing different reality stuff, and you have the audition, they speak to you, and they're like, okay, we'll let you know. And they'll be like, oh, we've decided to go in a different direction. And the same thing, the Big Brother, we had the call, and I was like, okay, we'll see. And then they came back and they said they wanted me to do it. And the first thing that I was really apprehensive was about the black woman, how we're portrayed, how was I going to come across? And they kind of basically said to me, look, if you're not a bitch, we can't make you look like a bitch. Like, however you can, like, we can't make you look like anything you're not. So if you have an argument, that's natural. But if you resolve it, we have to show you resolving the argument. We can't just put that out there and not put the other bit out there. So my thing was, I was very conscious about that. And I always said this, even when I went in there, and the few of my friends that knew I was going there was like, be careful, you know, you're a black woman. And I was like, I think what resonated with a lot of black women, no matter what profession you are, you always have to think twice when you're a black woman. Even if you work in the office, you've got to think about your tone. You've got to think about how you come across. So I didn't feel like it was anything different to what I had to do in my everyday life. Like when I come here now, I've got to make sure I speak to people in the right way. But when I get home, I can probably just be like, and all my friends, like I can snap at my friends, but they know me. So you have to, I think as human beings, you just have to know, you have to understand the world. Like,
did you feel like you had to do that when you was in Big Brother?
Yeah, but what I'm saying is I don't think I don't have to do that outside Big Brother. I've got to do that on a day-to-day. Like, you know what I mean? Like, when I got to make sure I say hi to Lucy nice so she doesn't think I'm an angry black woman. Do you know what I mean? So all of these things, it wasn't any different, but it was such a once-in-a-lifetime experience. I grew up watching Big Brother. It was such a it was so weird that I was on the Celebrity Big One. That's what threw me. It was like, I'm not only on Big Brother,
Girl, you
but
a celeb,
no, but to
girl.
me that was so weird.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
every
yeah.
time I was in there, that was always the thing. But it was one of the best experiences. I'm so glad I did it, and I'm glad that people got to see me in a different light as well. That was my main thing. That's the main reason why I wanted to do it.
You came across so amazingly well.
Thank
My
you.
mum loved you on that show.
Thank
She was just like,
you.
oh, that's Zeze Millz. She's so great. 26 seconds on the clock.
I know.
We're going to have to wrap this up.
I know,
You've
so
been
quick.
absolutely, we could sit here forever and a day chatting to
I know.
Zeze. You've literally done so many things. But thank you so much. Can't wait to see
Thank
where
you.
2025 takes you
I know.
next year.
Jeez,
It's gonna be a
2024 needs
good
to wrap up real quick because, boy.
Trust me. But Sunday, your show,
Sunday, 9 to 1, everybody lock in. It's quite fun. I have a good time.
you do have a good time. Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.